Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing great. So, today we're talking about something that a bunch of players have been noticing: the brand new Call of Duty update, version 1.83. Now, before you scroll away thinking it's just another patch, this one's actually worth discussing. Not because it completely changes the game, but because it tells us a lot about where things are heading for Call of Duty right now. I spent some time checking out the latest info, reading what the devs have said, and looking at how players are reacting, and I've got the full story for you. So here's the thing. Update 1.83 just dropped recently across platforms, and on the surface, it might look like one of those small updates that just fixes a few bugs, but there's a bit more going on under the hood. Officially, it's being described as a stability and performance update, which usually means the developers found a few crash issues, optimization problems, maybe even matchmaking bugs that were affecting the gameplay experience. And if you've been around Call of Duty long enough, you already know that even small patches can sometimes make a pretty noticeable difference in how smooth the game feels. Some players, especially on consoles, started seeing a fairly big download size, which caused a bit of confusion. People were like, wait, if it's just a stability patch, why am I downloading 40 or 50 gigabytes? And that's a totally valid question. What's been happening is that sometimes the platforms like PlayStation or Xbox end up re-downloading large chunks of data because of how the patch system is structured. So even though the actual new data might just be a few hundred megabytes, the console thinks it needs to replace entire files. Frustrating? Definitely. But it's not unusual for Call of Duty at this point. Now, in terms of gameplay, don't expect any new maps, modes, or major weapon changes in this one. Update 183 doesn't introduce that type of content. It's more of a fine-tuning patch. But those stability and crash fixes? They're more important than they might sound. The past few weeks, some players were running into game freezes, weird lag spikes, and even crashes when loading into matches. This update seems to target that exact issue. From what I've read in community feedback, especially on Reddit and Twitter, a lot of players are reporting that the game feels smoother now. It loads faster, stuttering has been reduced, and a few of those annoying packet burst symbols aren't showing up as much. But here's what's interesting. Even though 1.83 looks small, it comes at a time when the Call of Duty franchise is going through some noticeable transitions. We're right in the middle of seasonal refresh cycles for both Warzone and whatever mainline title is active, and Activision has been focusing a lot on making sure the new anti-cheat tech, Ricochet, stays solid and effective. Stability updates like this often contain behind-the-scenes improvements to that system. The devs rarely go into detail about it for obvious reasons. They don't want to tip off cheaters. But based on timing, I wouldn't be surprised if this patch quietly included updates to detection logic or server behavior related to suspicious activity. There's also the fact that Update 1.83 follows a series of hotfixes over the last month that were addressing weapon balancing, attachment bugs, and matchmaking stability. For example, remember how certain weapons felt slightly inconsistent after the last seasonal update? Those kinds of issues often get cleaned up in patches like this. So even if the notes just say minor fixes, they could actually include subtle adjustments to weapon tuning, damage multipliers, or recoil smoothing. It's kind of like the devs' way of saying, we're fixing the math, don't worry about the details. Another point people have been bringing up online is the size of these updates and whether that means we're getting close to a bigger seasonal refresh. Usually, when Activision pushes out smaller stability patches like this one, it's because they're preparing the infrastructure for a bigger drop that's coming soon. New content, seasonal cosmetics, or maybe even a crossover event. I can't say for sure that's what's happening, but the timing lines up. We're in that window where they tend to roll out preseason optimization patches before launching the next big wave of content. But what I actually find more interesting is the community reaction. Whenever a new update lands, you'll always get two camps of players. One group saying, finally, the game feels smoother, and another group saying, this broke my performance. It's kind of a Call of Duty tradition at this point. Some PC players are reporting better frame rates and fewer shader cache rebuilds, while others say their settings got reset or that their aim feels slightly off. And that's not surprising. Patches like this can sometimes change the way the game loads assets or interacts with drivers. So even though the core game isn't different, your hardware might respond differently. I think what makes this patch worth talking about is that it's a reminder that Call of Duty, even after all these years, is still a massive technical project that's constantly evolving. You've got a game engine that's powering multiple experiences across multiple platforms: Warzone, campaign, multiplayer, and every little tweak affects millions of players differently. Keeping that balanced is a challenge. So these small updates are crucial. They might not bring flashy new guns or game modes, but they keep the foundation stable so that when the next big update hits, everything runs smoother. If you've been playing regularly, Especially in competitive or ranked modes, you'll probably notice fewer crashes mid-match, which was a big complaint lately. There were cases of players getting disconnected during ranked play and losing SR because of it. Updates like this one are meant to stop that from happening, and that's honestly one of the most important fixes they can make. On top of that, you've got improvements in how the game communicates with the servers. A few network engineers online have speculated that part of this update adjusts how the client handles packet loss and latency fluctuations. That could explain why some players say their connection feels tighter now. It's not that your ping suddenly improved, it's that the game handles data more efficiently. So overall, the best way to think about Update 1.83 is that it's housekeeping. It's the kind of update that doesn't steal headlines, but keeps everything running so the next season can launch without major bugs. It's like tightening all the bolts on a machine before running it at full speed again. If you're expecting new operators, new maps, or big balance changes, that's probably coming in the next main patch or season. But if you've been frustrated with crashes, weird lag, or inconsistency in how matches load, you're probably going to appreciate what this one does. And here's a small tip. If you haven't already, after updating, it's a good idea to restart your console or PC completely, not just relaunch the game. That helps clear cache files and lets the system apply the new patch more cleanly. You can also try verifying game files if you're on battle.net or Steam. It only takes a few minutes and can prevent those annoying update loop bugs that sometimes happen after patches like this. As for the future, it's pretty clear that Activision is setting the stage for the next big seasonal drop. The pattern's been consistent. One or two small hotfixes like this, then a big update that brings a new map rotation, possibly new limited time modes, maybe some crossover skins, and usually a full list of weapon balance changes. So yeah, update 1.83 might not be the big flashy one, but it's definitely part of the setup for what's next. If you've been wondering whether to reinstall the game or if you've been holding off because of bugs, this might actually be the best time to jump back in. Performance is smoother, crashes seem reduced, and matchmaking stability is getting better. And since these fixes are cumulative, each new patch builds on the previous one. In short, Update 1.83 is like that behind the scenes work that keeps everything from falling apart while the developers prepare the next big wave of content. It's not a headline grabber, but it matters. And honestly, if the game feels more stable, less laggy, and your frames stay consistent, that's a win. So yeah, that's the scoop on Call of Duty Update 183. Small on paper, but meaningful in practice. It's one of those updates that shows the dev teams trying to keep the experience running clean while they gear up for the next major phase. Let me know if you've already updated and whether you noticed any changes, better frame rates, fewer crashes, smoother matches, whatever your experience has been. I love seeing how these updates affect people differently depending on the platform they're on. And if you're watching this right before jumping back into your next match, good luck out there. Hopefully, Update 1.83 keeps your game stable, your ping low, and your shots landing clean. I'll keep an eye on any official posts or patch notes from Activision, and as soon as there's more info, like a detailed changelog or hints at the next season, you'll hear it here first. Thanks for hanging out and catching up on this with me, and I'll see you in the next one.